Good afternoon, members, and welcome to the Education Committee meeting of the 31st of August 2015. I just remind members that the meeting will be recorded and subsequently made available to the public for listening purposes. There's only one substantive item on the agenda, which is the Dalbeattie Learning Campus, the project update. So, Claire, do we have apologies?
Bear with me, Chairman. We've got apologies from Councillors Diggle and possibly Ted Thompson and Karen Carruthers. And we're missing Councillor Nicholl, Councillor Witt.
Councillor Witt's apologies.
Thank you. And Ms Dennis is missing. And apologies from Reverend McFadden and Karen.
Apologies from Councillor Brodie.
And Brodie, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest?
Sorry, Councillor McClung as well, Chair. Apologies.
Councillor McClung's an apology.
Okay, so we move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any? No. Good progress. Right, so moving on to item 3, the Dalbeattie Learning Campus, the project update. The purpose of the report is to seek agreement by members to proceed to financial close the Dalbeattie Learning Campus project and to grant authority to officers to execute the necessary documents on behalf of the council. So we have Claire speaking to this. So Claire, would you like to update the members?
Many thanks, Chair. Members. Firstly, thank you very much for convening this special meeting. Apologies that we've had to do that, and we're grateful for your time. It's quite important that we do take this paper at this time. Up until quite recently, we've been working on a programme to secure financial close, that's signing of the contract document to allow the site to start early October. But as has been communicated to us through Scottish Government, Scottish Futures Trust, there is a challenge with the funding mechanism. If it's okay, I might just pause on that for a second in terms of giving some context to why this is important. While Government and SFT resolve this item, it's important that we close off all items in relation to this project so that it is ready to have the contract signed and to go to site as soon as the funding issues are resolved. One of the key items in that process is seeking the consent from members today, and I'll talk about that at the end of this summary, so that we can demonstrate to Government and Scottish Futures Trust that we are ready to start on site and start this project once it is resolved. With respect to the emerging issue, this is around an item called ISA 10, which is to do with counting regulations. The funding for the Dalbeattie project is around a design, build, finance and maintenance contract, which is funded by Government through a revenue basis. Through discussions with the Office of National Stats, ONS, Scottish Futures Trust have identified an issue with this. Government want this project to be off balance sheet, and ONS are contesting that at the moment to say that that would infer that this programme would be on balance sheet. And it's not just this project, it's the whole Schools for the Future Hub programme across Scotland. So we're not the only authority or the only project in this situation. We've been working closely with Scottish Futures Trust to understand the impact of this, but they are continuing to have discussions with ONS to try and find an acceptable solution. So until they do that, we can work up our project to just before financial close, but we'll not be given permission to sign it because the funding aspect's not in place. As it stands at the moment, we think we have about 2 to 3 more weeks more work on that before we will be at a point of close on that item. And we're working closely with the financial, legal and technical advisors to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to make sure that our project's in optimum position. Because when a solution is found, we want our project to start on site as soon as possible to minimise any impact of delay. So what I would anticipate happening, and it is a week-by-week basis at the moment, and as I said, we're keeping in close contact with Government and Scottish Futures Trust because the responsibility and absolute action to provide a solution for this does lie with them. So we have up to 2 to 3 more weeks more work. At that point in time, I would anticipate that we'll be communicating with Scottish Futures Trust and Government to say that we cannot do any further work and to advise them that our project is in standstill at that stage. But as I said, the approval for today to get the position that we could sign the contracts when it's ready and to have the delegated authority in place. It's very important to prove to government and SFT that we're ready to sign this contract when we're allowed to do that. We're obviously very disappointed in this because we've been working very hard on it and the communities were really engaged as well as the learners, staff and parents. But we have to accept that this item is out with all our control. We have communicated with the schools, the parents and the staff and will continue to do so as and when further information is provided. As I said, SFT are starting to do a weekly communication to keep us informed of what's happening. As of this date, they have not given us a timeline for resolution. As I say, it is unfortunate. We're all very disappointed about this because we're working very hard. But we'll continue to work and keep focused for the next 2 to 3 weeks on getting the final items closed out. And we will close this item out for the moment by issuing an alert to government at the appropriate stage to say we can't go any further forward until you give us direction to fund resolved. Happy to take any questions on it. It is quite a complex process. It is quite a complex scenario that's been presented to us. The signing the financial close is relatively straightforward once we get these approvals in place by government. But it is very important today to bring this to you, to ask once this resolution is in place that we do have the authority and the permission to go to financial close. Happy to take questions on this.
Thanks, Claire. I think we all agree that it is amazingly frustrating to at this point and everything being effectively put in limbo for an indefinite period while this is sorted out. I did write to John Swinney a couple of weeks ago, asking him to make sure it's resolved as quickly as possible and also asking for his reassurance that any additional costs associated with any delay and that the Scottish Government recompenses the council for that. I'm still waiting for a reply. See what happens. So I'll throw it open to questions. Ronnie?
Thanks, and I can understand the frustration. I can understand the frustration of and the expectations of people in Dalbeattie and surrounding area. And their expectations was everything was going smoothly, but we are where we are just now. And Claire, you mentioned about the whole schools for the future is in turmoil. That wasn't your exact words, but I'm not being selfish. I'm not really that bothered about the other areas. I'm bothered about what happens in Dumfries and Galloway, and and how soon we can actually get that done. Is there any time scale? Any estimate how long this process would take? I know for each month it's going to have a cost to it, because that's important as well for our talks with the Scottish Government on how we go forward as well. So we need some to try and get something positive out of this. We need a kind of estimate how much the costs are, and see where we go from there. Have you any idea?
I couldn't hazard a guess. We do press SFT and government on a weekly basis to understand timelines, and they are unable to commit to any timelines in terms of giving us a resolution or decisions or a process to actually get this resolved. So we continue to work, and as soon as we have any communication on that, we will disseminate amongst members. We're also looking at working with the hub programme to understand what the impacts are, and we're still in the middle of that. Is it a month delayed? If it's 3 months delayed? If it's 6 months delayed? What are the likely cost scenarios? We continue to work on that, but the team are working very busy to close out the final items to demonstrate that we're ready to go to site. So that's the priority just now, and then we'll look at the scenarios around any impacts this may have to our council or to the government or SFT.
And the costs per month would approximately be about, the figures that's being bandied about is £200,000, that kind of ballpark figure.
So advisors did have a look at it initially in terms of just a high level idea, and what that cost associated with is about the inflation. So for every month that you don't place a contract, what are the inflation costs associated with a contract of this scale? And that's what the advisors are telling us it would like to be, but they will do more work to fine tune that once we've got through the next 2 weeks.
So next 2 or 3 weeks we'll have done everything that we can do, and then it's there. And then from that period of time, we'll need to find out what's going to happen next from the Scottish Government. And, you know, I mean, the likely scenario is going to be a PPP type model. But, you know, it's still, I understand it is complex, I understand it needs to go forward, but I don't know any timescale on that. Okay?
Alan?
My button, sorry. Thank you, Chair. It's actually just been answered, but about the 200,000 a month that's been reported in the press, and I'm just trying to do that calculation in my head, which is not the easiest. 24.5 million, 200,000 a month. That's at 1%, 10%. Is it? 10. 2. That's right. Well done, Ian. Thank you very much. 10%. I mean, the inflation is roughly zero at the minute. 10% seems an awful lot when inflation's running at zero or even negative.
Yeah, I can explain that. So for construction prices, use the BCIS, which is the British Construction Inflation Service. So they do a nationwide review. So I can forward the figures, the indices. They do a quarterly index. So they can sit between 8% and 19% in the construction market. And that's what inflates construction prices.
Ian?
Thanks, Chairman. I suppose just trying to get my head around as well, as much just what's happened here. We've got to understand lots of it's been reported in the press and nationally as well for other projects starting in Aberdeen. But just it's meeting it's called especially for this, just to get all the I's dotted, T's crossed, and everything lined up ready to go. But we could be sitting here for 3, 6, 9 months, a year. We just don't know. I just wondered what was behind the driver for that. Why was it so important to call this extra meeting to get to this stage? I was a wee bit confused at that. We could be sitting in limbo for long enough, unless it's a legal obligation.
So, for example, if a resolution got found tomorrow, then we need to have everything in place to start on site, because we don't know when we'll get told by government and SFT when we can go ahead. If we don't have everything in place, they could legitimately say that we're not ready to go to site. We need to get everything in place as if we were going to site, and to allow them to officially say to us, I'm sorry, I can't give you the funding confirmation to allow you to do that. If we didn't have this meeting and didn't have the sign-off, then they could come back to us and say, well, actually, you're not ready to go to site because you haven't had this meeting, you haven't been given the delegated authority.
I mean, it sounds we're taking any possible excuses away from the Scottish Government in which to pull back the funding, which I would accept fully. I can understand that. So if, say, it's 6 months away or even 9 months away before we come to a conclusion in this, we're at a point of readiness now, saying 2, 3 weeks' time, we're point of readiness, everything's signed off, ready to go. Will a 6 month or 9 month gap make any difference to that? We'll have to come back to council, we'll revisit it. Will everything still stand and be competent at that point in time?
In terms of a process, what I'm planning to do is that we take it up as far as we can go. We have almost a checklist to say where we are. And I think it would be prudent on the timelines that we come back to committee once it's restarted and do a review of everything to check everything is in line. We don't know what legislation might change in that time. Hopefully it's a very short period of time, so there's no chance for any major changes. But in terms of process, we'll certainly be parking it, making sure everything's marked up, and then when it does get restarted again, we'll revisit it to do a due diligence to check everything is consistent, and we'll make sure we come back to that you have visibility of that.
Colin?
Can I just add, Chair, for members' reassurance that when we looked at getting this additional date in the diary, it wasn't about trying to make sure there weren't excuses for the government or otherwise. It was at a time when we were optimistic that we might reach financial close on the 21st of September, and with the recognition that the normal committee date was going to be too late for the gap that was needed in between. So genuinely set up as getting to a stage where hopefully I or Rona Lewis would be signing something on the 21st of September.
David?
No, nobody's more disappointed in this carry on as well, but can I ask, if this takes 3, 6, 9 months, is there got to be a detrimental effect in the future of St Peter's Catholic School? Because I think it was going through a consultation period with nuclear, and will this have any effect on the future of school there? For the time being?
No, there's no impact. St Peter's are very separate scenarios and processes.
Oh,
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, certainly Davy and Ian and I will be all fielding, I think, the same questions from the community right at this point. And in a sense, we've been here before because there was a whole issue about funding for the health centre. Then the funding was on hold and was it going to happen? Was it not going to happen? Up and running now, right enough. But certainly, what we don't want is to see this drag out necessarily to the same extent that the health centre project did. And that's, I think, the point I'd like some clarification on. If you're getting weekly updates from SFT, bearing in mind that I suspect those will be so technical that they would certainly hurt my head to some considerable extent, is there something that we can do, you know, maybe in language that I can understand, to give us a similar kind of rolling update, just so that we know where we are as a committee? I know that we have another meeting actually, 17th September, so it's not that far away. So it might be that an update there is the best option. But if we're getting weekly feedback, is there something that we can get as a committee so that we are as up to speed as everybody else is? Selfishly, I'm thinking, you know, clearly from a local context, because you've only got to walk down the street at the moment and somebody asks you, you know. But clearly for the whole committee, I think might be helpful.
well, given that we have got the education committee on the 17th, it might be worthwhile reassessing it then. And if we haven't made any progress, come with some way of keeping the committee informed of where we are, if there are any significant developments, either in a positive or a negative fashion.
Absolutely happy to do that. Obviously, we would inform members if there's any significant changes. I think we could also just inform if there's no changes as well, so that you're aware that we're still on top of it and we're still engaging with it. It doesn't go off our horizon just because SFT or government haven't given us any updates, but no, absolutely.
Ian?
Yeah, it's just in relation to the same update. Could you maybe include members of the future area committee in that are not members of the education committee?
That's a good point. Okay, but no one else indicating they want to speak, so can we move to the recommendations? So in 2.1, we asked to note the current position regarding Scottish Government funding through the Southwest Hub programme as detailed in paragraph. It actually reads, oh, it reads 3.22, should actually read 3.24. Look at the papers. And the likely resulting impact on the construction programme and completion date. Noted. Ronnie?
You beat me to it. I was just going to move them on block.
Well, if the members are happy to do that, yep. Right, okay. Right, thank you for your attention. No.